Carmilla the series, on the cinematic Verve Girl TV channel, where nothing, not even the abundance of terrible YouTube commenters, disturbs the release of female-centric media. But within the playlist of this fashion tutorial haven, you'll find quirky series after series. Just last August, lesbians on Tumblr stumbled upon a play button, stating it was about a novella from 1872. So, Lonely Girl knockoff, or transmedia masterpiece waiting to be discovered? Hello, my name is Christopher, and this will be the first of my reviews for the web series Carmilla, the series. You may know me from my reviews on Tumblr. Well, in preparation for Season 2, I decided to get into vlogging. But first, let's get the initial questions from the viewers. Well spotted. Why not? Really, why not? It's a great show. And yes, I acknowledge that it has lesbian representation, so it draws in queer female viewers who have been yearning to see themselves on screen. So that said, let me be clear. I am not here to take this show from you. It's yours. I'll admit, I do partake in a lot of media that has romantic storylines between two women. Why? Because of these two idiots. I've been a shipper since I was 4 years old. And I got into Glee. Hard. And Britannia became my OTP. And by the time I'd found Tumblr, I was OTPing Britannia like I'd never OTP'd before. So obviously, I found myself following a lot of queer female fangirls. So my ear is naturally to the ground whenever any kind of lesbian representation pops up. Furthermore, I'd recently discovered the Lizzie Bennet Diaries. But I only did so right after the series had finished, so I didn't really get to participate in the fandom in real time, which I'm sure you all know is a unique experience. I was not going to make the same mistake that I did with LBD. As soon as I saw GIFs of Carmilla, I jumped headfirst into the show about 8 episodes in, and I started to do reviews on it. Not these video reviews, obviously, blog reviews. I'd experimented with that with LBD, but it wasn't fun to do in retrospect. And I didn't get any followers for it because they weren't as good, and because I had not yet figured out that if you want followers, you really have to have a central theme to your blog. And so I tried this with Carmilla, and a following I got, and I was delighted. But enough about me, let's talk about Carmilla. So, consequently, we begin by meeting our protagonist, Laura Hollis, also talking to her webcam. Now, a couple of technical details. I'm not impressed with the lighting. Having worked with screen caps ad nauseum for my blog reviews, I find the entire show too dim. Frequently yellow tinged. That's better. Also, the setup for the universe is a little shaky. I think we're supposed to assume on the forefront that Laura's head is in the clouds. Because of the slight tongue-in-cheek feel of the show, I throw in quite a few gag monster references. And it undermines the actual surprise that Laura is absolutely correct. And we don't get that because we have a character of otherwise sound mind relating a story about possessed computers when there's not an obvious mundane explanation to undercut that. These little hints are supposed to build up so that Laura and the audience together at some point will be rewarded for their faith. Instead, we're throwing in a very Scooby-Doo at Ghoul School Light world. In a way, this is how Buffy the Vampire Slayer introduces us to the world. But in the show, we're in Buffy's inner circle. Carmilla portrays a world where the Sunnydale citizens interact too often with creatures that can't be pushed out of their minds. As a character, Laura is not immediately accessible. Intense people rarely are. But I, along with many of you, probably warmed up to her very quickly. Also, she's got a TARDIS mug. How can you hate her? So we get to see Laura's human side as we meet her roommate, Betty Spielsdorf. Now, I'm not terribly fond of the outgoing character that drags the homebody to parties, but Betty's sweet, and Laura likes her too. And even though they are a bit of the odd couple, we do have some fun. Also, I love this shot. Are these two characters even meant to be the same species? Sadly, lovely Betty does not last, because she's gone. At the end of the day, I've got to award this show 4 out of 5 TARDIS mugs. While the characters we meet are well developed, the universe is still left fairly nebulous. We're not sure how much of the supernatural we're supposed to expect. What we've seen from Laura so far seems to indicate we're not supposed to expect any. Yet at the same time, there are goat sacrifices. On the other hand, the show does have quite a bit of mystery. We are left on a cliffhanger, which builds tension and anticipation. Well, that's all I gotta say. Tune in next week as I review Carmilla, Episode 2.